What's going on, everyone? So welcome to the latest director ranking video. This is of course a series where I focus on a specific director and rank their work from worst to best. I've done such directors as Wes Anderson, Paul Thomas Anderson, Sergio Leone. There's so many directors I've done. Check out that list down below. Guys, you clicked on this video though, you know who I'm focusing on today. Alfonso Cuarón, who's done 8 movies, both theatrical and streaming combined. I'm of course not doing music videos, TV shows, or even TV movies. None of that. Just specifically streaming and of course theatrical movies. So he's done 8, and I'm going to be ranking them 8 being his worst to 1 being his best, and of course my opinion. Also, there are a couple Spanish titles, so bear with me. Not the best at Spanish. I'm definitely going to try to pronounce this correctly, so just please bear with me with that. But all that exposition aside, let's get started. So my number 8, I'm going to start off with Great Expectations. So a little bit of backstory. I looked up Alfonso Cuarón and I realized I had seen 5 out of his 8 movies. This was one of the movies I hadn't seen, so I decided to watch it. My expectations were up a little bit because although I had never heard of this movie, I like Ethan Hawke, I like Gwyneth Paltrow, and I like Alfonso Cuarón. And I remember watching this movie like not too long ago, like a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, this movie, it's pretty disappointing. I hope it's not like a critically acclaimed movie or something audiences liked. And I looked it up and I'm like, that makes sense. There's just too much movie in this. And when I say that, I mean it's not really focused. You can tell that there's an auteur though behind the camera because Alfonso Cuarón, his cinematography in this movie is good. Ethan Hawke and Gwyneth Paltrow, they do look like they are trying for sure, but you just can't help but be bogged down by story and glacial pacing that aren't really effective, as well as characters that are very surface-based. So it's a shame, but that's why it's my number 8. My number 7 is, just like Great Expectations, one of the movies I had to watch in order to do this ranking list. My number 7 is Solo con tu Superior, which again I had never heard of, but it was a sex comedy, and I was like, all right, let's see how this is. I'll say that as far as sex comedies go, it's middle of the road. Not that much about this movie really screams Alfonso Cuarón. Like, there are long takes for sure, but there's not really those Alfonso Cuarón moments to be had. I do think that there are a couple funny moments. I do think the chemistry between the leads is passable. The sex parts are passable, I suppose, but I don't know. Overall, I think as a blended movie, it just doesn't fully work, at least to my likings. Again, I get it if someone likes this movie. Like, I'm not going to sit back and be like, you can't like this movie. If someone likes this movie, I wholeheartedly understand. Trust me. But it's just a movie that I felt personally like was middle of the road. And that's why it's my number 7. So my number 7 was obviously that. My number 6 is A Little Princess, which, just like the other 2 movies, I had to watch in preparation for doing this video because it was one of the 3 Alfonso Cuarón movies that I hadn't seen. I can't lie, just like Great Expectations though, I did have pretty high expectations. Reason being is because A Little Princess is a movie that I actually saw when I was really young. The original, that is. I saw the original, and I believe it was my mom that said she didn't like the remake, so I just never got around to it. But then obviously I wanted to do Cuarón's ranking list, so I was like, alright, I'll watch it. And it's not bad. I actually will dare say I liked it better than the original, and I'm saying that as someone that saw the original a lot when I was younger. My sister was obsessed with the movie. I think the remake is a little bit better in the filmmaking aspects because, truth be told, the original Little Princess, it hasn't aged well in terms of like the way it was shot and everything, as well as just it hasn't gotten a good transfer. There hasn't been a good DVD or Blu-ray transfer of that movie. With A Little Princess, I think that I was watching it on Netflix, and I do believe it was in HD, like actual HD, I hope at least. It looks good. And I looked it up, and of course, it was the usual cinematographer that Alfonso Cuarón uses, my boy Manuel. So it makes sense to why it's so well shot. But not just that, I feel like the attention to details are more relevant with this movie. Like, you notice a lot more things, and overall, I was entertained a little bit more in this movie than the original. Is it a good movie? No, by no means. No means at all. I think the villain is just so cartoonish. I think some of the plot points are a little kind of like, oh my goodness, no. And it's fair game though, because it's like the original had it as well. It was just a little bit more annoying in this, I feel like. But overall, it's a step up from the original if you've seen the original. But other than that, I'm not going to sit here and recommend it. I think it's an okay movie. But again, similar to my last pick, if someone were to say they liked it, I completely understand. And here's the other thing. I think it's a kids movie, so some people might be like, oh, what's a kids movie? What were we expecting? But here's the thing. My number 5 is a kids movie, and it's much better. My number 5 is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Not gonna lie, I'm not a big Harry Potter fan. I actually won't even consider myself a fan. I've seen all the movies. I've even seen the Fantastic Beasts movies, but there is something about the fifth one that really works. This is where you can really tell in terms of like him being able to take a kid's movie and really make it effective. This is the movie to watch because, like a lot of his movies, he has long takes. You know, he has moments with characters that are really impactful, and I'll get to that later on. But he's also more about the technical aspects. He's looking at Harry Potter and analyzing it, almost, you know, questioning it. And it's good because I think he brings out the best child performances up to this date, up to this movie. Because, truth be told, the first couple of Harry Potter movies, I don't think the acting was really that good. But I think the directing of Alfonso Cuarón in this one was good. It was effective. Overall, it's a solid movie. I do have a couple issues. I do think it's a little bit too long. But overall, I do think it impacted the Harry Potter franchise in a way that was really organic and fleshed out. And that's something to be had. That's why I do give it props. And yeah, that's why it's my number 5. My number 4 is a movie that I know a lot of people love, and I know I'm going to have to explain my viewpoint on this, which is fine. But my number 4 is Roma, which... You look at my review for that movie, I liked it. I did. But then I watched it a second time, like right before the Oscars. When I say right before the Oscars, I literally mean the day before Green Book won Best Picture. Actually, no, the day of. My mistake. I watched it the day of, and I think it's solid. I think it's one of those things where, and I'm going to talk about this probably in my Richard Linklater review for his movies. Slice of life movies, I think, are one of the most difficult. I say that all the time about comedy and horror, but slice of life movies, truth be told, I feel like are a little bit more difficult because you can have 100 people watch a slice of life movie and it's probably going to be split as to how many people think it's like, you know, really good and really interesting versus people that are going to just find it boring and want to walk out. I feel like Roma bounces that fine line for me. I think it manages to be interesting in the premise alone, and I do like how it's executed with a lot of long takes. The black and white cinematography is gorgeous. There's pretty much no score, which is really far out and crazy, but it's pretty cool. But then there are other aspects where I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Like, I'm not able to fully relate to everything that's going on. I can appreciate from afar, but I'm just not able to sit there and say, like, I think it's a masterpiece. I respect and understand if people do. I just personally think that I'm in the middle when it comes to this. I'm more positive than most people that I know, at least, but it's not overall a movie that I can see myself coming back to many times, or even coming back to. I don't know. It's just a movie that overall, the second time, it soured me a little bit, but I still think it's a solid movie. And again, Cuarón really shows his strengths, you know, with the cinematography and the just overall the shot composition, everything. It's really something to be had, and that's why it's a little bit higher. It's my number 4. My number 3 is E2 Mama Tambien, which I love. I think this movie is incredible. I've only seen it once, but the one time I did see it, I was impacted by it. Similar to his previous movie, also a Spanish title, Solo Contra Paria. It's also pretty much a sex comedy, except it's matched with coming of age elements too. And I think the coming of age elements really do add a lot to this movie. I think that if you watch this movie, you can really appreciate it. I would recommend the unrated cut. I haven't seen the theatrical cut, but the unrated cut was really good, and I was told to watch that version. And it's really good. It's an effective movie. It's simple, but the execution is really something to be had, and it's definitely one of his best movies, in my opinion. So that's my number 3. My number 2 is Gravity. I know. A lot of people are like, how do you have Gravity over Roma? Well, I enjoyed, Gravity more, and I did also think that it was tighter, Gravity, kind of like Roma, you could almost argue it's a slice of life movie, like it's literally just about an astronaut in outer space trying to survive. But it's interesting, because it's like, you are constantly wondering, okay, what can happen next? What can happen next? Because, she's having everything happen to her. What can happen next to make things even worse? And it kind of subverts your expectations, in that you're thinking what will happen, and ends up happening something differently. Still, something bad that happens to the character, but still, it does keep things interesting for the 90 minutes. And I really liked, again, the cinematography, visual effects, score, sound, acting. Everything is on point with this movie. I do think that's a very effective movie, and that's why it's my number 2. So that's my number 2. My number 1 is, you probably already know it based on, just figuring things out. My number 1 is Children of Men. I love this movie. I truly do. This was actually one of the movies I watched a couple months after, I believe, I watched Gravity for the first time. So it was technically my second movie of Cuarón that I saw. But I loved it. I think that this is a very effective movie. I praise Gravity for its cinematography and visual effects, but I do think that Children of Men are a little bit better. And bear with me by saying that. I think that what CGI is in Children of Men is like seamless. You really can't tell what's CGI and what's practical. With Gravity, by default, you know everything's pretty much CGI because Sandra Bullock being in outer space, she can't be. So immediately you know it, even though it's incredible CGI, you know it. But with Children of Men, if someone were to tell you that all this was practical effects, you would believe it. Don't get me wrong, a lot of it is, but you would believe it because it's so seamless. There are so many different long takes in this movie. Again, Cuarón is a director that loves long takes, and I really appreciate that. And the thing is, as much as I like his other movies that focus on them, like Roma has long takes, the Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban, Gravity, but I feel like Children of Men has the best long takes, and that's not why I'm giving it the #1 slot. I think overall in terms of story, character, plot, those are things that I think are the best in regards to Cuarón with this movie. I think all the other movies pale in comparison to this movie in those regards as well, and I really like what this movie is saying as well. I think it's very fascinating. If you haven't seen Children of Men for some reason, I would highly recommend you check it out. It's a movie that does seem pretty, low-key in terms of like being rated. Like, I think it's personally really underrated, but it's still very much so a movie that if you watch it, you'll recognize the greatness, and I think you'll fall in love with it too. That's why it's my #1. So guys, that's my ranking list for Alfonso Cuarón. Let me know if there's any other directors that you want me to do. Again, I've gotten requests for many directors. Bear with me. Again, I'm trying to balance all that. It is pretty quite difficult. But yeah, let me know that. And also, guys, what's your ranking of Cuarón's films down below from 8 to 1, with 1 being obviously your favorite? Let me know in the comment section down below. Also, I will probably be doing Alejandro Inarritu Gonzalez and Guillermo del Toro. I can't believe it. I'm so American. I'm going to be doing those 3 directors all together. Like Del Toro, as of right now, filming this video, I have 1 more Del Toro movie to watch, and same with Gonzalez. So, and these 3 are friends, so I just figured I may as well rank all 3 of their works. So stay tuned for those videos, as well as Lars von Trier will be getting focused on soon. And guys, as always, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.